What's up, guys? It's your girl, Nagi85, Angie Cakes, Angie Marie, Angie Bob, Angie Botner, Auntie M, however you know me, Psycho Sister, whatever. So many different titles like people have for me. Anyway, so it is currently my lunch break, so I don't have time to do a whole bunch of takes on this video, and as you may or may not know, I kind of just go raw dog, because I just record and post. I don't do all that fancy editing stuff, because this started out as a pretty much video diary to myself, and now that I have people watching and paying attention, I should probably up the professionalism of them and maybe make them a little better and do some editing and things like that. However, I'm not going to, so that is something that we're gonna work on later in the future. So anyways, I got some little girls here that are trying to ride their bikes around, and I kind of just stopped in the neighborhood because I have to run to the bank really fast. Adulting sucks. Yeah. Anyways, so this is Wednesday, and I feel comfortable with Wednesdays being my I'm Enough videos, because as everyone knows, my brother is doing a whole series on the whole You're Enough, and I am in love with the I'm Enough stuff, I'm Enough phrase, hence the tattoo on my wrist, that every single day I wake up in the morning and that's the first thing I see is my I'm Enough, to remind me that I am enough. So this week's I'm Enough video is a little bit more on a serious note. I came across a Facebook video the other day when I was lost in the Facebook hole, and it was actually, dropped my phone on my face, yay. Anyways, go me. Anyways, it was actually one of these YouTubers. I can't remember his name because I don't really fuck with him that much, but most of his videos that I've seen are like laughing and joking. Some are kind of offensive, whatever. But one of my friends shared one that was about suicide, and he was basically like, suicide is not a joke, suicide is serious, if you're going through stuff, you got to reach out, blah, blah. And I thought that it would be a good idea to make my I'm Enough video about suicide today, because suicide is a topic that hits so close to home, and I feel like not a whole lot of people understand it. If you've never suffered from mental disorders, depression, schizophrenia, OCD, bipolar, there's so many different titles out there. If you've never, ever dealt with it, then you're not going to understand it. You're going to be like, oh, just get over it. I actually had a very main player in my life for a long time. Whenever I get depressed, it was like, oh, just get over it. Just be happy. And it's like, duh, if it was that fucking easy, I would, whatever. But it's important to have people that recognize it and understand it and know what's there. So to somebody who has never dealt with it, they'll say things like, oh, suicide, it's a pussy way out, and why would you even think that? Why would you even do that? It's stupid, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm not saying I totally disagree, because in a sense it is kind of the weak way out. Like, no disrespect to anybody, but that's real. When you get to that point that you literally feel like the world would be better without you, sometimes there's nothing you can do to change that thought. I've had 4 attempted suicides. 4 times. I had it planned out. I was ready to do it, and I had, I would pick a date, and I would usually make sure that, nobody was going to be home or whatever. And usually, 2 of the attempted suicides, or almost attempted suicides, let's call them suicide setups. 2 of the suicide setups, my brothers, one or the other, would always come in and say something to me. Like, hey, Angie, you're awesome. Or, Angie, I love you. And I'd start thinking about, do I really want to do this? Can I, and it kind of pushed me off. I've mentioned in past videos that I don't even know how long it was, honestly. I know it was at least, 4 months to a year. I carried a suicide cocktail in my purse. I had it was a Midol bottle, and it had enough different painkillers and different drugs that I didn't even know all of them. I had researched them, talked to some of my friends who have street connections, got a hold of them, And basically the idea was if I downed this bottle, I would be dead within 5 minutes. And whew, that's strong. Maybe not 5, 10. I don't remember the whole. I threw away my notebook that I'd done all the research, and basically it was to go out in a painless way to me. And I carried this around for about 6 months, maybe a year. I don't really know how long. I was in such a fucked up mental state. I don't even know all the events that took place. But I remember the day that I threw it out. And I remember I wasn't fully over the thoughts of killing myself. I felt like such a burden. I went from living with my husband at the time, who I felt like didn't even like me. We had fallen so far apart. I felt like I was kind of alone, but I was so dependent that I couldn't just stand up and fight for myself. I couldn't stand up and do things for myself. And when we split, I moved back in with my family, and I felt like such a burden. I felt like a failure. I felt like I did nothing right to keep my life or my marriage or anything together. I felt like it was all my fault, and I felt like I was just a burden to my family. So often my thoughts would be, well, if I was gone, my brothers wouldn't have to see me crying or listen to all my bullshit. My parents wouldn't have to, give up space in their house for me. My friends wouldn't have to worry about trying to make me feel better. And as hard as I could, at first I couldn't get over that feeling, that thought. It had been there for a long time. There's been a long, deep-seated self-hate. Mostly, like I said, being heavy set, always feeling not good enough, always feeling like I don't make people proud or whatever. And at that moment in my life, I was so terribly deep in the darkness. I was so consumed inside myself that I basically did not give a fuck about anybody else. I would do things that would, I'd fight with my parents, or I'd start arguments with my brothers or whatever, because in my mind, like mentally, and I know it's fucked up and some people won't understand, but in my mind, if I pushed them away, then I didn't have to worry about it hurting them when I killed myself. That was it. If I made everybody hate me and not care about me, then once I finally did it, because I was certain it would happen, it wouldn't hurt them. They'd be relieved, and I could go thinking that nobody cared. However, the day that I threw away that suicide cocktail, as I was saying, I was still in a position where I still felt like a burden. I was still embarrassed of my situation. I still felt like I failed in life, that I had done nothing right. But I'd also started thinking about my family. And try as hard as I fucking did to push them all away, and some of my friends, I tried so hard to shut them out, they wouldn't go away. It was so frustrating to me at the time. They just wouldn't go away. And they were there, and no matter how shitty I was or how hard I tried, every single person, my mom, my dad, my brothers, their girlfriends, my best friend, my friends, like I had a whole team of people that just would not leave me the fuck alone. And at the time I hated it. I hated it so bad because I wanted nothing more than to do it. But eventually I started thinking about, sorry for all the sniffles, my nose was stuffy anyways. I started thinking about all these people on my team who just wouldn't go away. I can't make them hate me. I can't make them not love me. I can't make them dislike me. All I do is make them mad and hurt them. And then I thought about the effects of if I killed myself. At first I thought about my family. I envisioned my funeral. I thought about how my brothers would respond. I thought about how my mother would be devastated and my dad would be crushed. And I thought about, no matter how hard I tried to make them hate me, they would all still cry and they'd all still be hurt. And then all the problems that I was trying to avoid, all the bills and all the everything, especially, the finances were terrible coming out of a marriage and having all this debt. And they'd have all this bills, they'd have all this shit that they'd still have to handle on top of not only losing me, but me treating them shitty for a year before it happened. I didn't like that. I didn't like the thought of it. So I vowed to myself that at that point, and that was actually the last time, I mean, I had everything figured out. I had my letter written to my family. I had everything done months before, actually, I was going to do it. But I made a vow to myself that all of that was gone. And no matter how bad my life seemed, it was not fair to put my family and my friends and all these people that were on my team that refused to leave my side. It wasn't fair to them for me to do it. And so I vowed that I would just live in the darkness and I would learn to deal with it, and I would put on a fake fucking smile and I would live my life day to day, and I would do everything I could to make those